It's a new day. Good morning.
Another day, another vlog.
Copyright. Look at this. Today we're walking through the artisan district
Yeah.
of
the
San
market.
Miguel de Allende. Yeah, artisan markets, and everything's closed. Closed. And closed. So we're on our way to have breakfast. Today we're going to the restaurant that we wanted to go to yesterday, but it was too late and was apparently pretty full.
Yeah, hopefully it's not super full today, although it's pretty late again. But it's our last chance, and this restaurant is super recommended, and everybody's going there for breakfast.
They recommend the coffee.
And we don't like coffee.
I got new glasses. These are mine. Just trying them right now. And they have a polarizer included, which means they are cutting the reflections in certain parts. Let's see if Joss realizes.
Oh yeah, the
Right
floor.
there?
Wow, wow, you can actually see way more. How do they do that? The hell?
Look, I can do the same with my camera. This is an ND filter, which makes the image darker, okay? But it also has included the polarizer. And now I'm gonna show you what it does. Okay, so here you can see the reflections in the water on the ground. And now, check this out. Wow, look at this. The reflections are gone.
Wow.
So that's what I see with my glasses now.
We are in the wrong one.
Great.
There are two different ones, and this one is just coffee and bread, and the other one is a restaurant, and we're like 5 minutes away. I know, we went so long.
I thought you did the research.
I did?
Research.
But this is what comes up on Google Maps. What am I supposed to know?
So we're here. They said the waiting time is 40 minutes. It's now 10:30, and I don't feel like waiting 40 minutes.
We will have like brunch at 11. Yeah, I don't know. Next time. I mean, now we have a reason why we should come back. Look! Silencio, Bruno. It's a Vespa.
Cringe. So I found a different spot. It's called Trazo 1810. 3 minutes from here. Let's go.
Okay, so that thing that I just showed you is a nightclub that I remember I went to a couple of years ago. Memories from my young party days. We did it at the same time.
Good appetit.
Good appetit.
So we just got out of the restaurant. The food was okay, but it was not my favorite.
My food was actually super good. At some point I even said, these are the best chilaquiles I've ever had. But I didn't like it because they included the tip in the freaking check. I don't like that.
No, and they automatically include 15% of tip, so you have no choice to choose.
If the service was good or bad, doesn't matter because it's already included.
And the water was super expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad you like your chilaquiles.
Thank you. I gave you some. He ate half of them, so.
A quarter. So we found this beautiful park. It looks pretty nice.
We're looking at a butt in front of us.
Great.
From a statue.
Right next to the park, there is just an area filled with trash, which is not that nice. But yeah, here we are, and now let's talk about the main topic of this video, which is about what's happening in Mexico.
What the hell?
Let's start with the basics. When you get to Mexico as a tourist, you always get a tourist card, which is called FMM.
Yeah, Forma Migratoria Mexicana.
It looks like this. On this card, they're gonna write a number of days that you're allowed to stay in Mexico. Don't lose it, because if you lose it, you have to pay a fine to get another one.
Yeah, you basically get that at the beginning, you keep it with you the entire time, and then when you get back, you give it back.
Yeah, you always have to bring it back. I don't know why they do it that way. I feel like it's totally unnecessary. They should have it in their system, but you get it and you have to keep it.
Yes.
The general rule here in Mexico is that you can get up to 180 days as a tourist, okay? The problem is, a lot of people think that you automatically get 180 days, which might be the case sometimes, but not all the time.
The second problem is that there doesn't seem to be a clear system of how these things work. So, for example, sometimes the agent at the airport will give you 180 days. They won't ask you any questions and you stay as long as you want, basically, within those 180 days. Some other times, they will ask you exactly when is your flight back, show me your accommodation, your itinerary, and they will give you exactly that amount of days that you're allowed to stay in the country. And some other times, it seems to be quite random. People are saying that they are getting less days than what they told the officer they were planning on staying.
Yes. A lot of people shared their stories about what happened to their visa form. And here's what they said. For example, there was one person that had booked accommodation for 5 weeks and he only got 14 days. There was another one that was not even asked how long he's going to stay, and the immigration officer automatically gave him 7 days.
Super randomly.
And many people say that they were not even able to read the number on the card. So there was one person that said it looked like a 90, but in reality it was only 40 days.
Really?
Yeah.
Some of them have been posting photos of their FMM forms.
Uh-huh.
And really, some of them are, you cannot tell how many days they were given.
Now, all of this leads to a lot of tourists overstaying their visa unknowingly.
So what happens if you overstay your visa? I'm part of this Facebook group where there's a bunch of travelers that also come to Mexico, and there they posted a video about a German guy that came to Mexico. He was given less days that he wanted to stay, so he overstayed his visa mistakenly without realizing, and then he got detained and ended up in what he called prison.
After he posted that video, a lot of people in those Facebook groups started freaking out. They were already in Mexico or they were about to go to Mexico and they didn't really know what was happening. Because this situation seemed to be happening to a lot more people in the last couple of months.
What people are saying is that back then, they knew they were gonna overstay their visa. They went and asked at the airport and they told them, no, don't worry, just overstay it, and when you are back in the airport to take your flight home, you'll just have to pay a fine and it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
Which obviously is not legal and not something that you're supposed to do. Now, what people are saying that has happened is that in Riviera Maya mostly, that's where we've heard most of the cases, the government is targeting places where a lot of foreigners would be. For example, shuttles that take you from Tulum to Playa del Carmen to all of these areas, like touristic areas, buses, ferries, places where there would be tourists. The government goes and they ask you for your FMM form, so you should have it with you most of the time. They check it. They check how many days you got from your visa, when did you enter, and if you overstayed your visa, even if it was a mistake, even if you're still within the 180 days, but they only gave you the visa for 10 or whatever, they would take you and they would bring you to a detention center.
Yes.
Most people say that this detention center looks basically like a prison.
Yeah, what you need to do is try everything to avoid this situation because you don't want to end up in one of these detention centers.
Yeah,
people say that the conditions are very bad. You get very little amount of food and water. When it rains, you're getting wet and you're in a small cell with like 20 people.
And also your families are super worried back in your hometown. It's not fun.
They take everything away from you, like cell phones, wallets.
Yeah, and they're not treated very nicely. It's just not a good situation, right? And when they get there, or like if you get there, hopefully not, you have to manage to contact your embassy, and until they are finally doing all the paperwork and getting everything done so they can release you, you're staying there. So this German guy stayed 7 days, another guy stayed 9 days, but apparently some people have been there for months. Now all of these is things that we saw in videos and we read in the posts. We have not been there. We don't know if this is actually what's happening. But a lot of people are corroborating it and saying, yes, the same thing happened to me. Or I was there too. I even met you there. Yeah, so people are freaking out. So all of this is not to tell you to not come to Mexico,
but to warn you.
To warn you and to give you the tools so that you can avoid the situation at all costs and you can come to Mexico and enjoy this beautiful country without dealing with that annoying thing.
Yes. So the other day, Joss called the immigration agency, the official one from Mexico.
The INAMI. This is the National Migration Institute.
Yeah, to ask what you need to do and where you have to be on the lookout.
So first of all, he told me that no, you don't get 180 days automatically. The agent has a decision and he can give you whatever he wants.
The second thing he said was that you have to make sure on the spot, right at the airport, when you receive the card, that you can read what it says and that it's the number that you were expecting.
I asked him, okay, if I'm already in Mexico, if I cannot read the number that they wrote on the card, how can I make sure I know? Like, can I call? Can I check online? And he said, no, there's no way you can check it online. There's no platform for it. If you call, they also won't tell you. Make sure you know this number before you leave the booth of the agent. The next thing is that he really recommends you to have a flight back, to have your accommodation booked, and if you don't, at least know a Mexican that can give you an invitation letter where it states how many days you want to stay, and that is gonna make your chances better that you get the amount of days that you want.
Yes. And lastly, we asked him, Joss asked him, if they overstay their visa, if they're going to prison. And he said, no, it's not a prison, it's called Immigration Detention Center or something like that. I mean, you're locked into a cell where you cannot get out. To me, that sounds kind of like prison.
Yeah.
But apparently, officially, it's not prison.
Well, for me, what makes me feel better about this answer is that you're not gonna be locked up with super dangerous people there. Like, you're just gonna be with other immigrants.
It's just a different type of prison.
But you know what was interesting? When I asked him, what is the consequence of you overstaying your visa? I was expecting him to tell me about the detention center, and he didn't mention it.
Okay.
He said, the consequence is that you have to pay a fine, and also there's a possibility that you cannot enter Mexico again. Like that you're gonna be on the blacklist of Mexico.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, but I've heard of people going to prison. And that's when he told me, no, it's not prison. And that's when he talked about it. But initially he didn't even mention it.
He must know what's happening in Cancun.
Maybe. I think it's mostly in Cancun. Every single case I've heard has been in Cancun.
Now, some people think that they're trying to go against illegal immigrants and people that are on purpose overstaying their visa.
Yeah.
Some others think it's just a way to get money from tourists.
Everything seems believable to me. Also the
knows?
corruption. So everything seems believable, but whatever it is, it's happening. We're sure there may be some tourists that are just not cool and they are trying to overstay their visa illegally. But a lot of the people that are in those detention centers, it was literally a mistake. Like they didn't want
know.
to break the law.
Yeah, and to be honest, the first few times that I arrived in Mexico, I still looked at the card. I always got 180 days, and the last, I don't know,
Sometimes.
the last 4 years, I didn't look at the card anymore because I thought this is how it works. I automatically get 180 days.
Yes.
And now, after we read that story and watched the video from the German guy, I was like, where's my FFM card?
I have to read it. I have to read it. What
I
if
didn't
I
look at
overstayed?
it. So I think, that's just my personal opinion, there should be a system and defined rules how the immigration officers have to deal with tourists. Either they give everyone automatically 180 days, or they ask everyone, how long are you going to stay? And they give that amount of days to the people.
Yes.
But not like sometimes it's this, sometimes it's that, because that way the tourists don't know what they can expect.
Yeah, either you let them in and give them the amount of days they're expecting to stay, or you don't let them in.
Yeah, like either just send him back right away.
Yeah.
But not like, no, I only give you 7 out of the 40 days that you want to stay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I feel
What?
like the main problem is that they just need to make sure the tourist understands that they have to check that card.
Yeah.
Like, just if you're gonna give them less days, tell them in that moment you're getting less days, so make sure to book a flight back, a different flight back. That's
Yeah.
it. That's enough for the tourists to know
Yeah.
what could happen. Now, if you guys are a little worried now about coming to Mexico, we understand, because I'm also a little like, ugh, this is annoying for the tourists.
Yeah, it's annoying.
But don't be too scared of coming to Mexico. I also don't want everybody to be like, I'm not going anymore.
No, just make sure you check your card.
Yes, that's what we wanted to tell you, so now you know.
Now you know. This is basically the end of the video. Subscribe to this channel, and if you want to watch the other video that we made in San Miguel de Allende, then go to our other channel. It's gonna be there.
That video is Chefskis.
We don't even know yet because we haven't
It
worked
is,
on it.
I trust you.
Okay. Oh, no pressure. Okay. Adios, muchachos.
Okay.